I sent the paper to the GBC. By this time, I had email addresses for a majority of the GBC members. A week went by, then another week, then a month passed, and I never received any response. Here, I had felt so confident that the GBC would have replied saying that they very much appreciated my research and my analysis and my conclusions on this, and they would write to thank me. Or at least I thought they would reply and enter into an additional discussion with me about it. Instead, I got no response from the GBC at all. After a month had gone by, I resent the paper, an e-paper, and I specifically asked for an official GBC response. Quickly, I got an official reply from His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj Prabhu, who wrote that he was replying to me on behalf of the entire GBC. His reply was fairly short and to the point. The GBC, he wrote, rejects your proposal. Short, yes, like a swift, hard, short punch to the gut of my big ego. Hridayananda added, and this is all paraphrasing from memory since I no longer have those original emails, but he wrote, according to the GBC, the functions and duties you list in your article, such as giving of personal, philosophical, and spiritual guidance, addressing the personal issues of the devotees, helping them regarding their service engagements, all of these are essential duties that only Diksha Gurus are to perform for their disciples. In order to restore those functions back to the GBC, it would require taking those functions away from the ISKCON Gurus. Doing that would render the Diksha Gurus with no other function to perform except the initiation ceremonies. Everything else, as you listed here, would be done by the GBC. Doing that would reduce the ISKCON Gurus to become no more than that of ceremonial priests or Ritviks. Since the GBC has concluded that the Ritvik idea is bogus and is a bogus and deviant philosophy, the GBC have therefore concluded that they must reject your proposal. To say I was disappointed is a grave understatement. The focus of my research and my conclusions had been 100% solely focused on the GBC. I had, in all sincerity, set out to try and resolve an important issue that was confronting the GBC. I was only focused on the GBC, and therefore I had seen this as only a GBC issue. I hadn't even thought about the Gurus or where this would leave them. The premise was simple. Srila Prabhupada had prescribed specific functions and duties for the GBC to perform. He had prescribed those functions and duties so that they would continue to perform them for the society even after he departs. This was the system that he spent 7 years setting up. And this was the system that he gave his written instruction to the GBC in his last and final will, that system not be changed. This was the system he wanted them to follow. The problem was that system had changed drastically because the GBC was no longer performing the majority of the functions and duties in their capacity as a GBC, and that Srila Prabhupada had instructed them to perform. After getting this reply from the GBC, it didn't change anything at all in regards to the conclusions I had reached. And in Hridayananda's reply, he admitted that these functions and duties had been prescribed to the GBC, as he had said that if the GBC restores these duties back, then it would render the Gurus to be no more than Ritviks. The way I looked at this is it didn't matter if these duties were now being carried out by Gurus or hired Sudras. If the GBC themselves were not performing them, it was wrong. And it violated a very important written instruction by Srila Prabhupada to not make such changes to the system he had set up. Srila Prabhupada didn't prescribe those duties to hired Sudras. He didn't prescribe those duties to new bhaktas. He didn't prescribe them to the Gurukula children. He didn't prescribe them to the temple presidents. nor did he prescribe them to any new future gurus. He specifically and only prescribed those duties to the GBC for them to perform in the position of a GBC. And these were the most important duties he gave the GBC to perform. This took place years ago, and I don't have the email correspondence. So again, what follows is from my memory. While it might not be 100% accurate, it's close enough to convey what happened.